Hey there, my name's Luc Lemaire, and this presentation is on Soviet constructivism from 1920 until 1930. Constructivism was an era of art which began in the early 20th century. It was not inspired by the traditional art form of paintings, but note the construct root in the word constructivism. It was an attempt to create art through architecture and furniture. The Soviet constructivist movement was somewhat of a rebellion towards traditional art, in that they seek to design art which could serve more of a purpose than simply an appeal to the human eye. The art was inspired by three principles. The first was Futurism, which was an artistic movement that looked to include modern technology and reject traditional artwork. The second principle was Cubism, which emphasized the incorporation of three-dimensional textural artwork as opposed to one-dimensional artwork. The third and final principle was Suprematism, which was inspired by geometrical shapes. This last principle is interesting because the idea behind it was for artists to extract the raw beauty behind their creations, rather than giving the audience of their work the opportunity to interpret it by their own means. It encompassed one of the goals behind constructivism, which was the idea that beauty could be found through simplicity. Some of the major artists who led the Soviet constructivism movement included names such as Vladimir Tatlin and Alexander Rodchenko. Although there were many more names who helped to birth the movement, these two were the most well-known artists in the constructivist era. Vladimir Tatlin was a sculptor, painter, and architect who took an early interest in Pablo Picasso, specifically his works surrounding Cubism. He started his career in the Moscow School of Painting, and beginning in 1909, he consistently began showing out at many major art showings throughout Russia. Up until the Constructivism era, he was primarily a painter, but he transitioned into a material artist, which included a style that was architecture and sculpture based. He is best known for his architectural work, the Monument to the Third International, also known as Totland's Tower. This monument was never fully constructed, and this was due in part to Totland being ahead of his time. It was a 20-foot model of a 1,300-foot monument to be made of iron and glass, and it was never completed during the era due to the lack of technological means to complete it. The other leader of the constructivism movement, Alexander Rodchenko, had a similar timeline to Tatlin, in that he left behind his passion for traditional art in order to become a materials artist. He concentrated on photography, and part of his inspiration came from the works of Tatlin, in addition to Aubrey Beardsley, who was one of the pioneers in the Art Nouveau style, and Kazimir Malevich, who was also known as a pioneer of suprematism. Rodchenko wanted to introduce an unorthodox style of photography through the angles in which he took the pictures. Some of his most popular paintings include Dance of 1915 and Pure Red Color, Pure Yellow Color, Pure Blue Color of 1921. And arguably his most famous photography piece was The Stairs of 1929. The constructivist movement served more importance than the creation of new art itself. The Soviet Union wanted to separate themselves from the rest of the world in terms of their technology and building techniques. This introduces the idea of avant-garde art, which is defined as new and unusual or experimental ideas. The goal of architects who participated in the constructivist movement was to practice avant-garde in all of their work in order to create some sort of utopia. Aside from Totland's Tower, some notable projects that arose from the movement included Lenin Tribute from Elizitsky, which was a podium that was to be powered to move around with technology. There were even designs for an entire city, which were again drawn up by Lizitsky. Most of these projects never arose from the paper due to financial struggles after the Russian Civil War. Despite the money troubles, individuals from the Soviet avant-garde school of constructivist art were able to come together with their ideas. These architects included Wazitsky, Vladimir Krinsky, Konstantin Melnikov, and Bertold Libekin. From 1923 until 1925, projects from this group were designed to show uniqueness and included projects such as the Wolkenbügel skyscrapers. In 1925, a group called the Organization of Contemporary Architects collaborated in order to focus on constructing housing. This focus lasted for around 5 years, and notable work from this era included Ivan Nikolev's Communal House for Students in Moscow and the School of Film Actors, designed by the Vesnin brothers. Mass housing became especially important in this period within the constructivist movement. The idea behind constructivist photography was to include the three aspects of constructivism, as mentioned previously: cubism, futurism, and suprematism. The use of geometry separated this type of photography from traditional photography. Alexander Rodchenko was regarded as the most famous constructivist photographer, as he made it his mission to explore the use of different camera angles. He wanted to create situations within his photographs that could be described as the equivalent of candid photos today: unexpected, unscripted, and natural. After receiving inspiration for a number of years, in 1928, he entered into the 10 Years of Soviet Photography exhibition. He published 6 photographs for review at this event, and he received mostly negative feedback. However, he unexpectedly created the technical photography genre because of his photos, and this lone award he received was because of this. It was a mix between art and documentary photography. Similar to all other aspects of constructivist art, furniture design in this era maintained a focus on simplicity. Interior designers of this furniture did not believe in overly luxurious furniture. In addition to this, constructivists attempted to create furniture that served more than one purpose. A modern day example of this would be a pull-out couch, which serves the purpose of being a bed and a couch all in one. An example from the 1920s would include Alexei Galaktionov, who designed a bed which can fold up to become a dinner table, as shown in this slide. Here are my references. Thank you all.